This video is going to talk about how we can use the Engine Data tab to identify additional information that is being provided from our vehicle from either the diagnostic port or other rules or exceptions that are being monitored. The first thing that we need to do is go through and select the time period that we want to review. So in this case, we'll select this week. And we'll also go through and select all vehicles, which we have. Then I can go through and run a default engine summary report. This will allow me to be able to understand all the vehicles in my fleet, how many exception violations they've had over that time period, as well as many faults, specifically engine fault codes that they've had as well. This might be beneficial for you to understand exactly what's going on between exceptions and violations versus engine codes that are coming through. When you look at the exceptions in this fault column here, you'll notice they're highlighted in different colors. The higher valued items will be put into a darker color that should stand out and draw your eye to them. So in this case, I can see one of the vehicles has 83 exceptions and 128 engine codes coming through. This allows me to be able to quickly identify maybe vehicles that I need to be concerned about. What I'm actually viewing here is more of a basic report, or that default report that the system provides. If I go up under View, I can actually move to more an advanced option. And you'll notice the report will change a little bit. You'll lose some of the highlighted information, but I'll gain a little bit more in-depth reporting. So now I can actually grab some additional information here. The data won't change, it's just the layout. And from here, I could either export to Excel or to PDF if necessary, and I can sort through. You're not going to be able to sort tabs in this view. It's really just meant to be a visual representation. If you do want to combine or edit the report, that's what the export will be for. You'll also notice if I go back to the report tab, again, I will have the option to export. So it just kind of depends on which option you might want to use, but this is a really great way to either identify the exceptions versus the faults. So the next thing I'm going to do is go to the Options tab and pull up the Engine Fault Report. Again, looking at all vehicles, we'll keep the same time period. What I'm now doing is telling the system to tell me, give me every vehicle in my fleet and tell me which vehicles have a diagnostic engine warning light of some sort, and tell me what that information is. So now in this case, I'm going to have my vehicle on the left, I've got my time, my description, which is going to be important, my source code, and the controller. The description is really going to be the actual description of the diagnostic code that's coming through. So you'll notice the first one says, a general vehicle warning light. I have a random cylinder misfire that was detected on cylinder number 2. So all of that came in through either the MyGeotab device picked it up, and then the vehicle's computer was reading it as well. In some instances, you'll notice that the MyGeotab device picks it up first, and then the vehicle provides the additional information. So the MyGeotab device is going to be great to be able to identify, is it a low priority warning, like you might see down here on this line item here? Or is it going to be more of a general or a high priority warning event? I can scroll through and look at all this depending on any way I want. The other thing that will be helpful is if you have vehicles out there maybe running larger semi-trucks on the J-bus protocol, so the 1939 or the 1708, you'll see those protocols listed here as well. So you'll know exactly what diagnostic code is picking that data up. This is a really great way for you to understand what's going on. This would essentially be the same report you might receive at the end of every night or end of every week of vehicles to get an understanding if you have anything out in your fleet that might still need some additional visibility from a maintenance or a service standpoint. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and actually pull up the last item here, which is the engine status report. I'm going to select this, I'm going to pick today, and I'm going to go through and I'm going to actually highlight just one vehicle that I want to pull some data on. So I'll scroll down here just a little bit and I will select a vehicle. And then what I can do is I can actually go through and generate a report. Now I will say you are pulling a lot of data here, so it's going to be very important to make sure that you're picking the right vehicle, and probably for not too long of a time period. The idea here is you're really going to be able to gather a lot of information on what this vehicle is doing at a really, really granular level. So what we're looking at here is actually what the device is picking up and monitoring literally second by second as the vehicle is going through a lot of different processes. So I'll just walk through a couple of items here so you can at least understand how to read this, and that way it might be able to provide you some extra visibility. Again, I'm looking at one vehicle for one day. It gets very cumbersome to pull this for maybe multiple days at a time. So what has actually happened here is the GeoTab device has actually gone through and sent out a heartbeat here at about 1 a.m. local time on this device, and it will go through and provide the volts on the vehicle, which is great. Every time that device wakes up, it will provide you information on the voltage, and that way you can also monitor the battery health there. So then the next thing that happened is the driver actually went and got in the vehicle at 10:21. I can see that the device actually woke up and it picked up a voltage. You'll notice there's a slight drop in voltage there. And then the cranking volts started to happen. So now the driver's turning the key in the ignition to get the vehicle to start the starter motor, which will then start the actual engine. And you'll notice as that time goes through, the volts continue to drop as it's drawing power. I can grab my ignition value, so now I can see my vehicle is on. And you'll notice my volts are actually starting to increase. My accelerometer is going to calibrate itself, so in this case I'm willing to bet that this device is actually plugged in upside down, which is fine because this calibration event that's happening here is what is allowing the device to know its orientation to still be able to monitor however the vehicle is going to move. That's why it doesn't matter how you install the device. So as I scroll down a little bit more, I can see I'm picking up RPM levels, the vehicle is active. I can read my diagnostic port. I start getting fuel information. I can start getting volts on my battery. You'll know they're coming up to about 14 volts, becoming very healthy. I can get engine temperature, again, more RPM levels. I can get more and more of these accelerometer data items that are coming through. This actually becomes very helpful over time. So, and I can scroll through a long list of options here of what this vehicle is doing throughout an entire trip. I will scroll through just a little bit farther here, and you'll notice a lot of additional forward and braking events. But then what you'll notice is once the vehicle actually is turned off, it will move to vehicle active and say 0. I can get my total fuel that's been consumed on this vehicle since the device was installed. But what I really care about in this instance is where it says total trip fuel used and total trip idle fuel used. I can actually see how much fuel was consumed on this one trip from the time the vehicle was turned on to the time the vehicle was turned off. It's this type of data that we're actually using some of our fuel report information for. So if the vehicle's computer can provide it, the GeoTab device can read it, and now we have the ability to go through and actually monitor this information. A lot of other things that are available in here. This is again where we can pick up things like seatbelt information. You can write a lot of really specific rules, maybe looking at gear position if necessary. This is really a lot more of the raw data that we pull from the GeoTab device, but at least it gives you an idea to understand how these elements are actually pulled together. So again, I'll scroll back up to the top. Always going to be the option to export in either this report option, which is more of a default, and then the advanced. I can pull into a PDF or an Excel as well and be able to sort through and manipulate this data as needed. Again, a very helpful way to be able to use a lot of the engine data to understand what's going on. Also keep in mind, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to our live support and you could access all of this information, being able to send us questions about issues that might be coming up. Maybe you want to schedule a training call with your trainer, or you just have some basic questions in general. You can always send those in and we can address those and communicate back and forth with you.